Once again, I was in the hospital.
We interrupt you from this podcast to bring you this important message. This podcast is not for children. There's occasional use of explicit language. Listener discretion is advised.
The University of Michigan Medical Center had transferred me to Pontiac General. It all came full circle. The place where I was born had now become the place where my future would be decided. My first admission into the adult branch of a mental health ward. This time the passenger had told me we were still in a war, and I once again was supporting the United States military in my own mental corps. If you don't remember, I likened it to the secret MK Ultra program the CIA had used back in the 60s. We arrived at the Pontiac General.
Hello, I'm nurse so-and-so. Here's a cup. We need a sample of your urine.
Do not take the cup. Just stare forward. Your urine has a wealth of information that the enemy wants.
I think to myself, well, there's definitely no way they can get that information if I refuse.
Now, if you don't use the cup, we will have to catheter you.
I think to myself again, now I'm no expert on the subject, but isn't that when they stick a needle up your penis and forcibly extract the urine? I wait for the passenger's response. Come on now, talking in my head? Why do I hear you breathing? You must be screwing with me. This is not a telephone call. You're in my head. You could at least give me a solid response. I look at the nurse and try to grab the cup. From an outsider's perspective, you can see me jerking my arm forward, up, and down, closed fists. She looks at me in confusion, with her patience thinning.
That's it. I'm getting the catheter.
She returns to the room with the catheter in hand. I begin to flail about in the bed like I'm having a seizure. I'm terrified. She calls for help, and sure enough, the opposition walks in. The mental health technician says,
Hey, what's the problem?
We need 4 points on him right now.
For those unfamiliar with the term 4 points, it's typically a fastening of belts and locks meant to restrain a patient. They restrain the arms and legs, hence the name 4 points. Similar to a straitjacket. No, it's not comfortable, loose, or easy. It sucks. It is used usually for patients who will not comply or give violent on the stretcher of the bed. They restrain me to the bed and the nurse returns with what is called a straight catheter. If I were to describe it, I would say it was similar to an injection needle on one end and a bending straw in the middle and a bag to hold the urine on the other side. I asked the dark passenger, why couldn't I just pee in the cup if they were going to get the urine anyways? The nurse was pretty, and the passenger had adopted her voice to make me believe that she was on my side. In other words, she was a double agent for the U.S. The passenger had gone on to make me believe that I was in enemy territory.
The urine has no information. If it's not given willingly, you are my Tahitian boy.
As far as I can remember, I suppose that the passenger was referring to the Marvel Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. project, Tahiti.
Wow. Really, huh? Tahiti. Wow, that's a throwback.
Marvel Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. was a comic book series turned TV show about the fictional branch of an American government division named S.H.I.E.L.D., an acronym that translated into Strategic Homeland Intervention Enforcement and Logistics Division.
Bro, it's a superhero show. That's all they need to know.
We're nerds. No one else knows this stuff. Anyways, the show was a popular thread in youth culture at the time. The Project Tahiti also was an acronym, but this one abbreviated the term Terrestrialized Alien Host Integrative Tissue 1.
They don't care.
Bro, this is my show. Shut up.
All right, whatever, man. Keep going.
All right. Perhaps this is where the military command stemmed from. However, the fact that my conscription into the U.S. Mental Corps had begun in 2012 and the previously mentioned show had launched in 2013 made me think that this connection was not as seamless as it now appears. By calling me the Tahitian boy, it meant to insinuate that the catheter would somehow integrate alien tissue into my own and make me something different, an extraordinary scientific marvel. At this point, the passenger had convinced me that everything on TV or movies had roots in reality, sometimes edited for entertainment, sometimes delivered authentically. I even believed there was somewhere out in space where the world of animation existed. I'll revisit that later in the series.
Oh, like Earth 2 or something?
Don't worry. It'll only be a second.
And a quick poke.
She proceeds to insert the pill into my penis, and I try to keep calm.
Go ahead. Oh, my bad. Keep telling your story. Keep telling your story.
I couldn't really struggle as there were already 2 other mental health technicians holding me down on top of the 4 points. I soon feel one of the most intrusive types of pain I had ever felt as a straight catheter pinches the inside of my bladder and extracts the urine. It starts with a burning sensation and results in a strange feeling as if your urine stream has been completely reversed. I would go on to experience this feeling at least 4 more times in the future. Each one more or just as painful as the first. At this point, I could barely discern the nurse's voice from the passengers.
Yeah, so more of the story is just pee in the cup, guys.
Now, we need some of your blood. Stare into the light and continue struggling.
My body continues to move as I wait for the blood to be drawn. At the same moment, as the nurse removes the blood apparatus, I hear a thud from the floor below us.
Well done. You just bombed the opposition with a mental shocker. Only you and the ones who feel it can hear it. Those who feel it are the opposition. Pay attention to the people around you when this occurs, so you will know who you can trust.
They wait for me to fall asleep before they release the 4 points, and then they transfer me to my room. I wake up in the morning in another old hospital room to the sound of on the door and a voice from another MHT.
Vitals!
I groan and I think to myself, will this ever end? These initial hospitalizations were the worst because of my quote-unquote Hunger Games challenges. I described them as odd questions and challenges I had to surmount in order for the dark passenger to allow me to eat or speak. Presently, it wanted me to smack a cute girl in the ass. No, I did not know this girl. She was also a patient in the mental ward with the Pontiac General.
Go over there and smack that girl on the butt.
The dark passenger walks me over to her, knowing how bad this is and knowing it's harassment, and forces me to slap her on the butt. I have absolutely no control over my body once again. She says,
What are you doing?
I try to give an excuse, but the passenger will not allow me to speak. It just forces me to stare at her with my eyes, gaping like a madman.
Soon, you will be like a celebrity to everyone. Don't worry, she knows you. She's just pretending that she doesn't.
I was using the phone. That was rude. And aren't you a little young for all this nonsense? I'm not just talking about the slap. I mean the whole psych ward thing.
An older woman wearing a Little Caesars management t-shirt walks up to us and says,
What's wrong? This young man just smacked me on the ass. Where's the staff? I'll handle it. That's why they call me Mama Bear around here. Young man, why would you slap old girl on the ass? You know damn well you couldn't handle all of that.
She says while presenting her body like a prize. I look like a deer caught in the headlights as I remain as confused as Scooby-Doo without his Scooby snacks. At this point, with every single action, I think about how it will affect my future. If I accidentally sneeze on someone, my future is over. The younger girl laughs and walks back to her room.
I would have laughed too. Well, at least she was a good sport about it.
You're a cute kid. Maybe if you said something, she would have talked to you.
Me on the inside. Am I in trouble? What the hell is going on? Me on the outside looking like a sad puppy, saying absolutely nothing.
Sad puppy, huh?
What's your problem? Why don't you talk? Let's go to breakfast. I'm going to help you out around here.
I follow her to the table, and thus begins the Mad Hatter Hunger Challenge, as I would come to refer to it in later years. They just called Mama Bear the Mad Hatter. I get my tray from the food cart and almost begin to eat when the dark passenger says,
Wait. You didn't think it would be that easy, did you? One slap for a meal. No, you earned a sun cup. Don't forget to look at the sun while you drink it.
In the 4th episode, I clarified this. I said that if I looked at the sun while drinking a sun cup, the weather would improve. I sipped from the cup with my eyes fixed directly on the sun, hoping for another challenge, because I was hungry. I paid close attention to Mama Bear and the older woman who helped me clean up the previous dilemma.
I got hot tea for an orange juice. Any takers? And pancakes for bacon. Anybody want to trade?
That's what you need to do to eat. You have to haggle for what you want. You can't speak yet, but follow this mama bear lady around and see what it gets you.
I watched her carefully. Outside the dining room, she was Mama Bear, but inside, she was the Mad Hatter. These were the titles she gave to herself, so every ally would refer to her as such. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, she was an ally to the United States Mental Corps, and so was everyone else she was acquainted with. I was Mr. Alice in Wonderland. I would come to be very familiar with these processes in the days to come. All this work just for a spoonful of soup or a bite of bacon. I was determined to beat these Hunger Games challenges like the world depended on it, because in the eyes of the passenger, it did.
Hey, kiddo, aren't you hungry? You look like you haven't eaten in days.
I hadn't, and no one knew because I was also mute for the past couple of days. All because of the dark passenger.
Hey, keep your creamers. They're like gold on the Hatter circuit down here in the dining room.
I shoveled the creamers into my pocket and sat at the Hatter's table watching her operate until we got kicked out of the dining room for activity time. I went to my room and buried the creamers into my nightstand. Almost immediately after I hid the creamers, a mental health technician entered the room and said,
Hey, you're not hiding any contraband, are you?
I look up into his face and fix my lips to say no. Nothing comes out. The dark passenger still will not let me talk. I see what my brother means now by how this got annoying. I'm angry at myself for just remembering it. The passenger had convinced me that this was prison, and that no one actually goes to real prisons because their conditions are too strict and too dangerous. Somehow I approved of this, even though I had gone to juvie in high school, as if that whole blip of my life were doctored in my memories. It also had me believing that real crimes rarely occur, and when they do, they just get sent to long-term hospitals. The passenger informed me that no one ever really dies, but this tidbit came along later, around the same time of the Nerd album, No One Ever Really Dies. To make it brief, I was all sorts of confused about the real world. And once again, I thought to myself, if he catches me with contraband, it most definitely will go on my non-existent permanent record.
Hey, did you hear me? Let me check your chart.
He looks at the clipboard for a few seconds.
Oh, so you don't talk, huh? Say something.
My face had become stuck on that David Kaluuya expression from Get Out. I was constantly in the sunken place.
All right, man, whatever. Just don't get caught with anything unless you want more days. The doctor's trying to see you. You're new here, right? Go sit outside his door and wait in line. He's going to say next when you're the next person to go into the door.
I leave the room and follow the mental health technician to the line. Presently, there is a violent scene unfolding outside the door. X-Men is a major theme in my hallucinations. I was Spike, my brother Wolverine, and my mother was Jean Grey or Storm, depending on the situation. Also, I had had a past life in Egypt along with the rest of the X-Men. Apparently this X-Men had occurred on a whole nother planet, and the planet's name was Egypt. The violent fight taking place currently was between Bobby Frost, or Iceman, and Toad as an MHT. They weren't using their powers, because mutant kind had lost their powers, just like Magneto had said would happen if they did not rise up in defense. I was a proponent of both Malcolm X and Magneto. Apparently Magneto was based on the character Malcolm X. Regardless, there was a big to-do about nothing, as is often the case in a mental ward. Bobby Frost was going off on how the system was created to imprison him unduly and hammering his fists away at Toad the MHT.
Bro, what? What? What are you talking about?
Lasers, bro.
Oh, okay. All right.
Lasers.
Okay. All right, keep going.
Superpowers.
Man. Tell your story.
Regardless, there was a big to-do about nothing, as is often the case in the mental ward. Bobby Frost was now going off on how the system was created to imprison him unduly and hammering his fists away at the Toad the MHT. Toad was calling for backup while he got his ass kicked by the inmate. All of a sudden, alarms start going off while I see an inmate fly out of the opening door for the mental wing. His name was Mike, and he was dead set on being free. He was a heavy-set man with quite a bit of endurance. I had heard his name while the alarm code went off. That was the last I would see of him. He was probably caught and sent off to a long-term hospital. Anyways, back to Iceman and Toad. Iceman had been restrained to the floor by the other MHTs, while Toad had flown out the single entry of the mental ward in pursuit of heavyset Mike.
So, okay, hold on. So you're hallucinating, right, at this point in time?
Yeah.
Yes. Okay, so you're hallucinating?
I'm explaining my hallucination.
Okay, so good. Okay, so I just want to bring the audience back
No,
to
I'm
earth,
not on the set of a movie.
I want to bring the audience back down to the set of earth, back down to earth here.
All right.
Okay. So basically, you're waiting outside the doctor's office and
Right.
you're hallucinating
Right.
about X-Men.
Right.
Right. As long as it's okay. But wait, hold on. Who was Xavier? Was it Patrick Stewart or James McAvoy?
Shut up and let me tell my story.
All right. Next.
It was as if he were in a whole nother world. No wonder patients say doctors are out of touch. This doctor had barely any idea that one of his inmates had escaped. He had a big MHT outside his door for protection, in case any of the inmates got a little too frisky while seeing the doctor. I walked by him and entered the room.
Hello, my fade. Have a seat.
I sit down awkwardly, attempting to avert his gaze.
So tell me, what is your problem? Why won't you talk?
Nothing is said for the next 5 minutes as the doctor looks at me and asks,
So, is it true that you had a full ride scholarship to the University of Michigan? Why in the world would you want to mess that up? You know what? Let's make a deal. You take your medicine and I'll let you out of here as soon as possible so you can get back to work.
I knew the small man couldn't think it was that easy. He was an expert with at least 15 years in the field, and that was all he could say? I was expecting him to work some sort of miracle and completely disarm the dark passenger. But this, along with the rest of the medical attention I would receive, was futile. Just as I'm about to get up, the passenger forces a chuckle. I begin to sob on the inside, knowing that I was SOL. I walk to my room and notice I have a new roommate. He's doing something very shocking. To put it simply, he's masturbating, butt-ass naked. It's funny to you. This is funny to you, isn't it?
I'm sorry, man. Keep going.
Whatever.
Keep going.
Laughing at my pain.
Keep going.
And then the passenger commands me to do something very shocking. Strip off my clothes, get into my own bed, and do something just as shocking. Put simply, to masturbate.
What is going on? What?
After he gets up, he slaps his ass and laughs and says some indiscernible gibberish. Here was the dark passenger's explanation of the event.
Oh my God, I think we just lost half the 10 listeners we have. Oh man. But yeah, back to what the dark passenger said, right?
Yeah.
You're Naruto, and that is Jiraiya, your perverted Toad Sage Sensei. Naruto is an anime character, and Jiraiya is his teacher. This is a hot spring in Anime Land, and you are practicing your cloning sexy jutsu.
Wild.
Hey, this is your story, man. What you got for that? Oh boy. Keep going.
What a train wreck. Life was not getting better, and rock bottom was not getting higher. It was getting lower.
Don't you recognize your roommate?
Not really. Who is it?
It's the family handyman, Maurice.
I was not comfortable with any sorts of handyman at the moment. So I thought to myself, he does kind of remind me of Mo. This man had known my family for almost all of my life. Yet back in 2016, he ended up stealing my father's car. This was 2014, and the dark passenger had just classified him as an extremely supportive ally.
That's where this came from. Okay, all right. Good. Hey, I'm learning just like you all are.
Jiraiya was like the fun father figure to Naruto, and at the same time, I had identified with Mo as such. I was so arrested by this feeling that I found myself defending him after the car had been stolen. I contended that this was just desserts for all the times my family assured him on cash. In retrospect, that was a line I should not have used. I guess I just wanted my family to forgive them, like they forgave me for all the trouble I had given them.
All right, go ahead, man.
Trust me, I gave them hell and a lot of trouble. Once again,
yes.
Once again, my face riddled with shame, my face showing how deep I was in that sunken place. What the hell had happened to my life? The voice had instructed me to skip meds as they were handicapping my light. As I explained in one of the previous episodes, this light was the trajectory of my life. And if my light was handicapped, so were my struggles in the U.S. military mental corps. The voices had also instructed me to skip therapy sessions, settling into an extension of my stay in the hospital. About 2 weeks had passed before the dark passenger would allow me to even utter my name. I finally introduced myself to Mama Bear.
Wow, Babyface can speak, and he has a wonderful voice at that.
I chuckled.
Bro, she lied to your ass. Straight up.
Man, you are such a hater.
Keep going, man. Keep going.
I chuckle, deeply humbled that she took an interest in my case and assisted me, and say, "Thank you for everything, Mama Bear.
This is my last day here. I hope you can make your stay here more pleasant, even without me."
She extends her arms open for a hug, and I oblige. What was I going to do without her? She was the only reason I could eat even the tiniest morsels of food. The hug ends and she walks back to her room. I hardly thought about her life. Being in the mental ward is no simple task, let alone when you choose to worry about someone else's well-being. This woman was truly remarkable, and I hope the best for her regardless of how little I knew her. I didn't care if she may have been the most wretched of women, because for a moment she was my hero, my guardian angel, my Mama Bear. Shut the fuck. You know what? That's not funny. That's not funny. I don't appreciate that laughing.
Okay. What was that? Keep going, man.
A couple hours later, and it's her final lunch before she leaves. Everyone is happy to see her go, and for one last time, there she goes again, mad as a hatter.
All right, y'all, I got hot tea for a pop.
She barters this and that for everyone else, and gets no reward, besides the gratitude of those she helps. Everyone gets the plate that they want, and everyone has a smile on their face. She always lets out the gratitude and says, "It's how I make a living. Look at the Little Caesar shirt," she says. Lunch soon ends, and it's time for her to leave. I thank her again just before she leaves. She replies,
Everyone needs a helping hand every now and then. Don't let them kill your mood. Just stay up.
To her, I say yup and bye. And to myself, I sort of laugh, knowing how awkward of a situation I had recently had. Hands and up. Yeah, it's definitely not with the finest choice of words to cap off that experience. 2 weeks pass, and it's the end of my stay at Pontiac General. Never again, I say to myself, as the passenger replies,
You're just beginning. Never again. Oh, we'll see about that.
Yeah.